My name's Peter. I like motorcycles and motorcycle camping. I came back to motorcycling after a 20-year gap, and that's not unusual. There's a lot of guys our age who are coming back, and if you're thinking about coming back to motorcycling, or if you've recently come back, well, welcome. It was a great decision for me. I'm really glad I did it. But I've been riding now for about 10 years, and I wanted to share 5 things that I think you should know about motorcycling if you're coming back. The first thing is that your skills are probably not as sharp as they used to be. And that's just the same as anything else you come back to. So I would encourage you to consider taking a refresher course. You know, the first thing to know is that your skills will come back, but they're not immediate. So if you can't take a refresher course, then just take some time and consider riding around a parking lot, doing some figure eights, get a set of cones. You can buy them from a sporting goods store for a few bucks and zigzag around them, just to build your muscle memory and get used to it. I've had a few experiences already where on these narrow back roads, all of a sudden there's a car there, and by just having that muscle memory to lean the bike is really a lifesaver. The idea for this video was triggered by a comment that somebody made on one of my videos, that he had just bought a 1200cc Harley Davidson and he's coming back to riding and he's taking it easy. And that, you know, the idea of coming back on a really big bike is something that you know, I remember when I was thinking about coming back and I priced out a Harley Davidson, and I was ready to pull the trigger too, but I'm glad I didn't. I actually ended up coming back on a 750 Honda Shadow, which I bought on a whim, and it turned out it wasn't the right bike for me. So, you know, making the right choice about the right bike and building your skills back up are really essential. You know, it's December right now, and so if you want to buy a bike right now in December, it's a buyer's market. You know, it's almost a cliche that, you know, a guy gets divorced and he gets a motorcycle. That didn't work that way for me. I got divorced. I was so broke I could barely afford a bicycle, and you know where the money went. So it took me a few years of reestablishing myself before I had the option of getting a motorcycle. But it's certainly worth doing, and it's been something that's given me a lot more happiness in my life. And my new wife doesn't mind it at all, so double win. And another thing is that traffic has gotten worse over the years, and you don't have to have been riding a motorcycle to know that. Any city in North America I've been in, the traffic has gotten worse, and I'm sure that's true in many other jurisdictions. It's just pretty crazy out there. You know, you're practically invisible. You should act like it. Don't assume that anybody can see you. It's a really good idea to be wearing bright colors. Like I always have I have a bright helmet, and I have high vis on my gear. So really taking care for your safety is important. Now that brings me to the third point, and that is that your old gear that's been sitting around in the closet is probably not very good anymore. And especially your helmet, right? If your helmet's been sitting around, get a new helmet. I know it costs a bit, right? But that foam inside the helmet gets stiff over age, and it's not going to protect you the way that it used to. You know, if you live in a jurisdiction where helmets are optional, well, I'm just going to tell you that I'm a great believer in wearing a helmet. You want a jacket that's going to be tested to safety standards, not something that just looks good because it's made out of leather or something like that, right? You want something that you know is going to protect you. And as well, I have pants on, proper riding pants, not just ordinary jeans. That would be the thing to do. And boots. So if you want to check out my video on safety gear, go ahead. See, things are busier than they used to be. You know, if you're watching this channel, you already like motorcycles, so I don't have to convince you about that. I'm just here to say, as a returning rider, there's just a few things that you should be aware of before you make that decision. You know, just like it takes time to build that muscle memory back into riding, you're also going to find that your body might not be as comfortable as it used to be. So it doesn't hurt to learn to do some stretches and make sure you're in the physical shape that you should be in to sit in the saddle and manage the bike. You know, it doesn't take a lot of muscle, but you can get sore over time. So my knees are the place where I suffer the most, and so I like to be in a more upright riding position. You know, another thing that's changed over the years is that the bikes have a lot more technology now. And I know there's a lot of guys my age who go, yeah, I don't need all that fancy stuff. And that's true, right? We all rode back in the day with bikes with no ABS, no traction control, no phones. You know, we had a good time. But those things are here now. You know, the first bike that I bought when I came back had a carburetor, but none of the bikes that I've had since then have had carburetors. So fuel injection, you know, I had self-canceling turn signals on my BMW. If you're buying a big bike or a powerful bike, you really have to make sure that you work your way into it. My recommendation would be to buy a mid-sized used bike. You can do that for, I don't know, $3,000 around here, probably more or less depending on the market you're in. But you know, I paid under $3,000 the first bike that I owned coming back, and I only had it for a few months. But it was good to get me back into riding and get back into practicing and build my skills back up. So the bottom line is, come on back. If you're thinking about getting back into riding, or you recently decided that you would, get yourself a motorcycle, take your time, build your skills, and enjoy the life on the road. I can't recommend it enough. And I know I've heard from guys, because I did that video on riding at 67, I'm 68 now. There's guys out there riding at 70, 75, 80. I recently heard about a guy who was 90 something, still doing trips, not just riding a motorcycle, but still doing trips. So, you know, we've got plenty of time left to get out there and do the thing that we love. I'll see you in the next video.